this generation been granted what I view as a birthright lottery, the blessing of privilege, abundant choice, and extraordinary prosperity for most of us. These are words that would not have been recited 75 years ago by so many Jewish immigrants who were unable to leave the horrors of Nazi Germany and the Holocaust and turned back from the shores of far too many countries, including ours, only to face their death in the camps of Europe. Today, as all of us sit in the comfort of our homes, streaming this service, I feel that it would be inappropriate to ignore the thousands of Afghani refugees who have no home, limited choices, and much like those families who came before us, the fear of what tomorrow might bring. I believe Judaism teaches us that we can and we must heal a broken world. Aleinu, it is upon us, it is up to us to help those who need us. Afghani immigrants who arrived on our shores a few short weeks ago need us. They are calling us, and I say on behalf of the Pico Union, Hineni, here I am, here we are. I'd like to introduce Sarah Hashimi, who I just met literally 5 days ago, who has a request of our community to share a portion of our abundant blessing with her Afghani community. I welcome Sarah to our service. Hi, Sarah.
watching the community around them, I talk to humanity, and sometimes rise up to see the support and feel favor in the lives of others. Please come.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were tasked to do. What's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu lishabeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own the vision. We're an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu lishabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu lishabeach. It's time to live our praise.
Shana Tova. So this is our morning service. I'll be honest, I had a rough night last night. For those of you who were online with us, you know of our technical challenges. And I can say in the big scheme of things, boy, it could have been a lot worse. Everybody's healthy, thank God. Everybody's safe, thank God. And we're all back here, thank God. One thing I was disappointed in yesterday is that we did not get to hear Daniel Kaner from London. And he was stunning. He was stunning. Something, I believe Stuart, is Stuart? Yes, Stuart, you're there. I think you might have taught me this. At the end of the day, the great battles, the great victories are not won on battlefields. They're written by poets. They're written and drawn by artists. They're painted by painters. Daniel captures for me the essence of Yom Kippur and frankly life. And I want us to hear this song to begin our service. Daniel Kaner, recorded from London.
On Yom Kippur, I'll say the prayers in English or in Hebrew. I'm sorry for my trespasses, for what I've done and what I did not do. I may not be religious, it may all be hot-air, but if I'm sincere, for at least one day of the year, maybe I'll find God there. On Yom Kippur, I'll hold my fast, I'll try to be still and patient. I'm a grain of sand, I'm a blade of grass, I'm a spark in the arc of creation. And let my mind be silent, let me feel something pure and rare. Let my anguish cease let me make my peace. Maybe I'll find God there. On Yom Kippur, I'll beat my chest in the house of God. I'm a skeptical guest. Show yourself, give me a sign. Flicker the flame, knock over the wine. If you're there, knock once for no, knock twice for yes. On Yom Kippur, my year is done. It's the footer and the header, and the oaths I swore can be annulled. And next year I swear I'll do better. And I'm praying for forgiveness for everyone, everywhere. If I can wipe the slate clean and be someone I've not been, maybe I'll find God there. Maybe I'll find God there. Maybe I'll find God there. Maybe I'll find God there.
So here's where I think God is. In this prayer, I find God. When a man is asked to go and curse a fighting army, to curse the Israelites, he gets on top of the mountain. Instead of cursing them, he says, "Oh my God, would you look at those people? They're gorgeous." Instead of a curse, he listens to his God. He listens to his heart. And he looks at the tribe down below that his army is supposed to annihilate. And he says, "How beautiful are your tents, Israel." And he blesses them, people of Israel. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, mishkenotecha Yisrael. I am thrilled to welcome into our tent, which is open on all sides, but it starts with the heart, an old friend, my rabbi from Adat Ariel, and our rabbi today, Rabbi Jonathan Bernhard. Thank you for being here, Rabbi.
Thank you so much for having me. Shana Tova, everyone. It is a pleasure and just so grateful for the opportunity to be with all of you and so excited to be able to be here together and to be able to pray and learn and sing. And who knows, depending on where you are, maybe you have enough space to dance. And if so moved, I recommend you do that. I would dance, but if I do, I will probably pull down every single wire in this place. So I will forego that. We're going to begin our prayers after following that beautiful Matovu with B'Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun. This is a prayer that speaks about on Rosh Hashanah it is written and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. The fate that will befall all of us in the year to come. But one thing I would point out as we begin is it says B'Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun, on Rosh Hashanah it is written, implying that we are just passive to all the things that happen to us. However, that's not really the intent of the prayer, because as the prayer unfolds, it will later talk about tshuva, it'll talk about atonement and repentance, tzedakah, charity, and talk about gimilut chasadim, acts of kindness that we can do as a way of tempering the decree that is written. And so we understand, on Rosh Hashanah it is written, and Yom Kippur it is sealed, but that we too have agency. We too can write. And the question this day asks us, the question this whole season asks us, is what are you going to write for your life for this year?
B'Rosh Hashanah Yichatevun Ubeyom Tzom Kippur Yechatenu Kama Ye'avun Uchama Yibareu Mi yamut umi yeh.
B'Rosh Hashanah yichatevun ubeyom tzom Kippur yechatemun kama yavru v'chama yivareu mi michyeh umi yamut umi
Ya 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 Yeah, 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 yeah. I've probably written in my emails a dozen times this year, people plan, God laugh. Last night, I wasn't laughing. I'm not sure what God was doing, but I did this introduction, the call to prayer, and I said, you know, once upon a time, people would get out on the top of a mountain, and I believe I believe the rabbi has that thing that they got on the top of the mountain with. It's called a shofar. And the way they called people to prayer was not via email. I said not by text message, but with a horn. Show us that horn, Rabbi. Can you give us the sound that they might have made at the top of that mountain? And then at the top of another mountain, maybe north or south, someone else got on the top of the mountain and said, something like that.
Oi.
Oi. Somebody said, oi. And from town to town, from tribe to tribe, from person to person, we were called to prayer. We didn't depend on technology. We prepared with air, with our soul, kol hanshama. Are you awake? Are you prepared?
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
And when we say, can you hear my voice? We're not asking about volume. We're not on the mountaintop saying, can you hear the sound of this horn? We're saying, do you understand what we're asking of you? Are you prepared to hear the message we have for you? Are you prepared to be human? To give what you can give, to share what you can share. Not are you sleeping, not are you awake, but are you open and ready? Are we awake? Are we prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Are we awake? Are we prepared?
Wherever you are, I ask that you stand if you can as I call you to prayer, and then come back to me. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Ya 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 ya. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Kem Shevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. we're asked to love our God. Love your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your soul. Love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all you know. Where you live, where you lie, where you stumble, where you thrive, with all you speak, with all you know, with all your soul. Be like God, one like God, in love and life be like God. Where you seek, where you soar, when you stumble, when you soar, when you breathe and breathe no more. Love your God. Be like God, one with God. Rabbi, take us to the river, take us to the shore.
Gladly, gladly. And I say so because this next melody that we're going to do for Micha Mocha, first it's a beautiful prayer, Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you among all the gods, who is like you doing wonders and amazing things for us each and every day of our lives. It's a beautiful, beautiful melody, and I happen to love it because this melody I always associate with and always think about OSM, One Shabbat Morning, which was something that we started at Adad Ariel with Craig. Craig, is it about 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 20 years ago when I first heard this melody. Now, I got to say, I heard this melody. I was but the lowly assistant rabbi when we started One Shabbat Morning, so I could only hear this melody for the first 6 months from the outside of the room. So it's really quite nice to be in the studio to actually hear it. It is beautiful, and it evokes for me this time that Craig and I got to work together throughout the time that he was doing One Shabbat Morning. But it also evokes a time where we can all come together. We can all work together. We understand Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you amongst the gods? Nobody. Because our God doesn't exist just amongst the gods, but exists within us and comes out when we reach out to and are there for one another.
By the way, Rabbi, it was exactly 30 years ago.
30 years ago?
20 years ago, excuse me.
Oh, jeez.
Exactly 20, which is almost 30.
No, it's not. When you're our age, 20 and 30 are big difference.
Yeah. Well, my son was 13, and One Shabbat Morning started because my son wanted an alternative opportunity to express himself at his bar mitzvah. Mm-hmm. He's 33 years old now. Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Shira chadasha, shibchu geulin leshimcha,
יחד כולם הודו והמליכו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Everybody, mi chamocha, please.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh.
Can I hear a little tikiya to introduce Stuart? Tikiya! Now that's the way it's done. Stuart, are you hearing us? Are we present?
I ask myself that question. Am I hearing you? Because many times we think we're hearing because we hear the sound, but are we real? We talked last night, about freedoms, privileges, the freedom to wonder, the freedom to dream, the opportunity to even imagine a world that embraces us and in which we thrive. But there's also another wonder. There's the freedom not to wonder that I think is important. Any of us who are attending this service right now, we have the freedom not to wonder about some things. We have the technology and we have a roof over our heads and hopefully some loved ones near us. But that sound of the horn that the rabbi just gave us is also a little bit of a wake-up call and reminiscent of the call of those who don't have the freedom not to wonder whether there's going to be a roof over their head tonight, the freedom not to wonder whether there is enough food to feed the family, the freedom not to wonder whether your children will experience any of the simple joys of childhood that we so often take for granted. And most of all, the freedom not to wonder whether your children will have the right, the privilege, or the ability to dream. This is a time of year where we're asked to give, and I'm not going to ask you to give anything until you give to yourself the opportunity to ask, what freedoms, what privileges, what wonder do I have in my life? And therefore, what can I give? Why do we give at this time of year? Let's make it simple. Because we can. And I'm not talking only about money or only about food. I'm saying, what can you give? If it's only a smile to someone you would normally not smile at, if it's only an embrace to someone you can safely embrace, if it's only a word of encouragement, what can you give and what have you given? Our theme this year was to remember the past, what you've done, to honor and prepare for the future, but to embrace today, right now, where you sit. What can you give? What will you give? What are you giving right now? Why do we give? Because we can. How do we give? In any way we can. If you have means, meaning you have enough food on your table and a roof over your head and enough bounty to live a comfortable life, what can you give? What will you give? Give. If you have an abundance of spirit that can be given to others, what will you give? What will you do? Not what will you say, what will you give? We've shown you this slide before, where you can text and actually make some commitment. And I remind you again, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about anything you can give. Is it food? Is it comfort? Is it shelter? Is it friendship? Is it mentorship? What can you give? What will you give? Yes.
So that we could provide the services to pay for the studio. But 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we opened it up, we said, just come, because we knew that that was something that we could easily give, right? Yes. We didn't forget about charging. Give what you can. If you don't have, give, right? But I want people to know that what Stuart so eloquently said was that we all have something to give. That is our privilege. Here is where your money will go. It will go to house a refugee family. We've already raised over $5,000 since last week. A refugee family of 5 from Afghanistan. They also, however, need sheets. You have extra sheets. You have a bed. There's another family that needs an apartment. If you can give an apartment for 6 months, one of the gentlemen needs a job. He's a mechanic. Do you know somebody who's a mechanic who can take this gentleman underneath his arm and say, I give you a job. I give you the ability to fish and put food on your table. If you can volunteer at Vita Sana, where we distribute 20,000 pounds of produce every week, then come to Vita Sana. If you want to be a mentor to a child, join our pup partners. There are so many ways that you can give. And if you are not in Los Angeles, then find ways that you can give. I can tell you this, nothing gives you more than the joy and the privilege of giving. Give what you can, take what you need. Put the slide up if you can, one more time. Can I hear a tikiya for Stuart? Shvarim. Trua. Stuart, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. And I want to say one more thing.
Please.
If none of that means anything to you, if trua is a term that means nothing to you, if shivarim means nothing to you, tikiya means nothing to you, let it mean this. Let it mean that we're asking you not to be anything other than what you ought to be, which is to be human, to feel the humanity in yourself and see the humanity in the person opposite you. We sometimes wonder whether our good intentions make any difference, whether they mean anything. But whether they do or not, we are called by the sound of that horn to be human. Be human. Does it really matter? We ask ourselves. Why bother to care? I've heard all the reasons, and maybe life isn't fair. We know this. The righteous will suffer. Sometimes the wicked take reward. Tell me, is there some secret? what is goodness for? Yes, we can stand above the crowd, raise our voices loud, from our actions be proud. Yes, we must rise above our fears, draw the enemy near. Not by might, but by spirit we are here. By spirit, not by might.
Strive to be human. Dare to make a difference. Will you dare to be different in the face of indifference? To be the eyes of the vision, the voice of those who cannot speak. Will you stand by the lonely? Will you carry the weak?
Yes,
We can stand above the crowd.
We can
Raise
stand
our
above
voices loud. From our actions be proud.
Ooh, yeah.
We can rise above our fears. Draw the enemy near. Not by might, but by spirit we are here.
Not by might, but by spirit we are here.
As we prepare now for the beautiful prayer Ya'aleh, which talks about going up, going higher, I want to share a very short story that I suspect many people know, because even though it was written not so long ago, it now has many different versions. It's called Even Higher by Yud Lamed Peretz. And the gist of the story is this, that a Chassid wants to know where his Rebbe goes before the high holidays, because his Rebbe is very diligent and very observant and is always in shul, except for the month of Elul. The whole month of Elul, the Rebbe doesn't come to shul in the mornings. He goes into the woods. And everyone says, when he's in the woods, he's secluded, he's by himself, he's praying, he's trying to lift himself, and all of us up to the very heavens. So this one student, following a long rabbinic tradition of following and keeping your eye on your Rebbe and mimicking their actions, one day it's a little bit creepy. One day follows the Rebbe into the woods. And as the Rebbe goes into the woods, the student staying back behind him sees that the Rebbe gets out of all of his very religious-looking clothing and puts on the clothing of a peasant, of a woodcutter. And he follows the Rebbe as he goes to this old woman's house. He knocks on the door, and the woman opens the door and says, "Do you need some wood?" And the woman says, "I need some wood, but I have no money." And the Rebbe says, now dressed like a woodcutter, "Don't worry, I got it for you." And he chops down the wood and he brings it into the house, and he says, "Do you need some fire?" She says, "Yes." And he lights the fire and he leaves. And he goes the whole day throughout the forest, throughout the woods, to all the homes where people don't have, cutting wood and lighting the fires for them. The next day, when the student is back at the yeshiva, and they're all talking, and it's Elul is there, and Rosh Hashanah is coming, and they're talking, and there's noting again that the Rebbe is once again not in shul, but in the forest, in the woods. And one of the students says, yes, of course. He's there praying for us, lifting himself and all of us up to the very heavens. To which the student who followed the Rebbe said, "Perhaps even higher." See, my friends, we tend to focus in religious conversations on the rituals that we do. And they're important, they're essential, for they carry our tradition and our wisdom within them. However, we can get so focused on them that we forget that ultimately religion is not about ritual, And I would say religion isn't really ultimately about God. Ultimately, religion is about other people, about the love that we show them, the compassion that we bring. And on a day like this, we remember the forgiveness that we ask, but also can offer. For those are the things that take us even higher.
ויבוא סליחתנו מבוקר ויראה נקתנו עד ערב.
יעלה, 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 יעלה מנותנו מערב, ויבוא למענו מבוקר, ויראה כיבורנו עד ערב, ויראה כיבורנו עד
נקתנו מערב, ויבוא אליך מבוקר, ויראה אלינו עד ערב,
I'd like to introduce Leeav, who we've been friends for quite some time. He's just an extraordinary musician, and I'm so pleased and excited you're with us. Thank you. And Shani, let's show Shani, please.
Thank you. תודה רבה.
Janice, introduce, because I can't see who's where.
Yes,
We're-
I'm delighted to be joined.
Raise
by
your hand.
that trio. Hello.
That's Janice, okay.
Yes, and I'm joined by Jennifer Wu and Circe Diaz Camero, my lovely Jack trio. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
It's an honor, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just stunning. Shani,
Yes.
who always brings joy to the room, but she doesn't bring her daughter joy
Literally.
to the studio. Stuart, of course. Valerie, also who didn't bring her little one today. 3 months old?
3 months old.
3 months old.
It's a good thing I didn't bring him.
And Laurence Juber, my next door neighbor, and all of the people in the back room who are making this happen. Thank you, Rabbi Jonathan, the newest member of the team. Thank you. That was a beautiful story. I love that story. If not higher. Beautiful. Ashamnu. Can you set this up for us, and then I'm going to explain more specifically what we're going to do. What part of the service is this?
So this part of the service is the confessional part. This is the part where we give articulation to the ways in which we've not lived up to our potentials, the ways in which we may have hurt ourselves and hurt other people. In Jewish tradition, it's understood that being able to articulate, to say something out loud, to give it that kind of voice, is a way of making our commitment all the more real to being better people and to being able to grow our own souls. And that is what a Shamnu allows us to do. That's what this whole part of the service allows us to explore.
It goes like this. I'll say, Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, and it's all in the plural. I have trespassed. It says, we have trespassed. We have, we. And it's written by rabbis in this book. It was printed, I don't know, 1920, my Machs or my prayer book. And it was taken from an ancient text. Do you know when this text was written? Do you have any idea?
Not off the top of my head, I'd go back at least a couple thousand years to
Yeah.
the rabbinic period, but more specific, I can't be.
So even back then, people were not hitting the mark, right? People transgress. Go figure.
You were a child back then, right, Craig?
I mean, that was like before Lysol. It was before the heart-lung machine. Liquid Prel wasn't even invented then.
Right.
It was a long time ago. And now with the internet, I'm finding pretty much, if you want to go online, you can find 1,000 iterations of these "we have sinned." And so what I decided to do was to send out to 2 people a group of 10 transgressions, 10 challenges, 10 things that you might have missed the mark on. And I asked those 10 people to add to it, but they can only add to it if they took something out. And then I passed it on to another 2 people. Now this is our communal vidui. This is we have. And what I'm going to ask you is if you at home in the chat can write down like a thumbs up. Yeah, that one works for me. Now, the people are going to be reading this. Each of them has 14 to choose from. I'm only going to ask them to choose their top 5. And I also gave them the freedom to do 4 if they choose, and if they really want 6. But it goes something like this. Ve'ha kulam Eloha slicho slach lanu chalanu kapeh. Jonathan.
By revealing my heart to those who neither wanted nor needed to see it, by hiding love out of fear of rejection instead of offering it freely, by neglecting my precious body too often and easily, by accepting less when I know I could do and be so much more, by living as if I had time.
Leeav, kula, Elohim, tzivot, slach lanu, michal lanu, kaper lanu.
Someone suggested that they have sinned by adding my 2 cents even when I have nothing to add. Another said, I have sinned by adding my 2 cents even when I clearly have much more to contribute. By being insufficiently gentle with my actions or with my language. We can imagine who said this. By changing keys without telling the band and never acknowledging it. It happens. By indulging in intellectual argument without humility or consideration. By living in anticipation and letting anxiety rule me.
For all of these, we ask one thing of you. Forgive us, return us, grant us life anew. Leeav, kula, slach lanu, michal lanu, kaper lanu. Leeav.
By hiding love out of fear of rejection instead of giving love freely. By protecting my acquisitions when the world is desperate for healing. By cultivating words of vitriol, digital and verbal. By choosing the despair of comfort over truth and humanity. By defending my beliefs at the emotional and spiritual expense of others. Today, may you strengthen us. Today, may you bless us. Today, may you raise us. May you return us. May you grant us health. May you inscribe us for a good life. May you hear our requests. May you sustain us. May you forgive our missteps.
Avinu Malkeinu. Janice, can we hear you on the violin? Give me a something from the heart, bring us higher and higher. If not higher and higher and higher, if not higher, if not higher. Laurence, bring us higher. See, in this band, everybody has something they can give. If I tried to do that on my guitar, no one would want it. Leeav, not with your accordion, with your voice. We're going to use this as our introduction to the Torah service. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachu Vechanu, Alpayim Verav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon Va'fesha V'chata V'nakeh. Please rise as we take our Torah.
out of her proverbial ark.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Jaffe Bernhard. Today, Yom Kippur, we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 1. And the reason why I chose that particular reading is that at the very end of the reading, it deals with the sixth day of creation, with the very last day of creation. And at the very end of the reading, when creation is all concluded, the Torah says that God looked at what God created, and God said, Hine, behold, tov me'od, it's very good. For every other stage of creation, God simply said, Tov, it's good. But here, Tov Me'od. And this drives the rabbis crazy and opens up the door for a lot of very interesting interpretations. Why Tov Me'od? What is very good about this as opposed to just good? And there are a lot of different answers that rabbinic tradition gives. The one that I want to focus on for Yom Kippur is this. There is a midrash, there is a rabbinic teaching that says that in his own Torah scroll, Rabbi Meir, a rabbi very famous who lived 2,000 years ago, had the word ma'od scratched out, and next to it, it had the word mavet, death. And so the verse reads, V'hine tov mavet, good is death. And this is an idea that I really want us to be able to explore a little bit today. Not only because on Yom Kippur we imitate so many practices that are meant to bring us closer to a feeling of death. We don't eat, we don't have sex, we don't shower, clean ourselves up, or take care of ourselves. We're to imagine ourselves as if we were dead. Hence we just generally dress in white, imitating the shroud that someone wears when they have died. So tying the Torah reading into death is very much in keeping with Yom Kippur. But also, I believe that as we become more comfortable with and have a deeper, more profound understanding of death, death can be our friend, and death can be our guide, and death can give us confidence as we go into the future. These are ideas that we'll explore later on in our service. For now, enjoy the Torah reading, Genesis chapter 1.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorah. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah. Amen. Vayomer Elohim Hinei Natati lahem et kol Esav Zoreya Zerah Asher al panei kol haaretz ve'et kol ha'etz Asher bo feri etz Zoreya Zarah Lahem Yihye le'ach laha ulho hayam haaretz ulho of hashamayim ulho romes al haaretz asher bo nefesh hayah et kol yirek esav le'ahlaha vayahihen vayar Elohim et kol asher asa והנה טוב מאוד. ויהי ערב, ויהי בוקר יום השישי. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah. Amen.
Return again, return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Misha Berach, if you know of somebody who is in need of healing, and they might not even know it, this is the time to pray for them. If you feel comfortable placing the name of the person that you are praying for, perhaps a caretaker who is caring for somebody who is in need of healing, now's your time to write it in the chat. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Yitzchak v'Yakov, Avram, Yitzchak v'Yakov.
משברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב שרה רבקה רחל ולאה הוא יברך וירפא את החולים
When Craig invited me to participate and share in the high holidays this year, I was really, really excited. I was excited to be someplace new and different, and excited to be with Craig, who almost every day, week, month, or year is in fact something new and different. And when he shared with me the theme that he wanted to explore, he said, "Want you to explore the idea of trust the future." And I thought about all that's going on and all that we're witnessing in our world right now. I thought of the climate change catastrophe that's unfolding in our world. I thought of the societal disintegration that we are witnessing in our country, the outright explicit attacks on the basic institutions that assure our democracy, the distrust in science and the rejection of basic values that make liberal democracy possible even, and provides guidance during times like this when we have pandemics. And of course, there is the pandemic itself, something that looks like it will extend for some time in some form well into the future. I thought of all of these things that are going on in the present and its impact on the future, and Craig's asking me to talk about trust in the future. And I came to the following conclusion. Craig doesn't like me very much. For me to stand here, or sit here, or broadcast from here, a message about trusting the future is hard for me. It's hard for me to be able to speak about trusting the future. Because if we're going to be honest, future looks dark. And I know we don't like saying things like that, especially on the high holidays when we feel all of our messages must be filled with hope, that everything is about tikkun olam. However, before we get to the hope and the tikkun, we have to acknowledge we are in a dark place right now. The social, political, and economic fabric that binds us, our communities, our country, and our world together, that is the elements that we need in place and working just so we can address the challenges of the future, is not just fraying anymore, but it's outright tearing. And neither me, nor you, nor anyone really knows what's going to happen. We are, if we are honest, facing a huge, scary unknown when we look towards the future. Now, facing the unknown, especially a scary one, brings with it fear. And fear can lead to a lot of things that are not particularly helpful. Out of fear, we avoid. Out of fear, we get defensive. Out of fear, we can sometimes become aggressive. But that future is our life, and that of our children and of our grandchildren. For them alone, we dared not avoid addressing this unknown that we look at. But we realize we have help as we address this. Judaism, our wisdom tradition, reminds us that we all have experience facing a scary unknown, because we, like all living things, past, present, and future, all of us face the ultimate unknown. All of us face death. And death is, I believe, the ultimate Rebbe, the ultimate teacher. As Rebbe Meir professes, Tov Mavet, death is good. And insights into how we deal with death will give us insights into how we can trust the future. One such insight comes from Psalm 23. In this most beautiful and misunderstood psalm, we read, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Now, we mistaken believe that for the psalmist, the author of this prayer, the valley of the shadow of death refers to the afterlife. It does not. On the contrary, from his perspective, it's life, daily living, the world around us that is in fact the valley of the shadow of death. We live each and every day in the valley of the shadow of death, for death surrounds us always. But by acknowledging this, what the psalmist is saying is that life itself is precious and fragile. By talking about the valley of the shadow of death, the author is telling us that death surrounds us always and our hold on life is tenuous. To think or even talk about it brings a very cold, frightening grip on our souls. And yet, even while acknowledging death all around, the psalmist is not afraid. He's not afraid of what will befall him. Why? Why doesn't he have that fear that we all have, that we all acknowledge and understand? Simply for this, because he believes and knows that he is not alone. Ki ata, for you, imadi, are with me. He senses God's presence, and just knowing that God is with him, that he is not abandoned in the face of this dread-filling unknown, grounds him. And we understand from Jewish tradition that being alone is not good. Lo tov liot adam levado. It's not good for a person to be alone, the Bible says at the very beginning of creation. And not being alone, having someone with us, is a powerful tool that can help us face all the challenges of our life. even the deep and profound unknown, that is death. And just as we face death best when we are not alone, so too, in order to trust the future, we cannot do it alone. In fact, it is even more than that. If we are to trust the future, we must trust in others, and a number of different others for us to consider. To trust in the future, I believe, is to trust in God, that ultimately the universe will provide us with the tools that we need to have an impact, to shape our future, to take the bitter sting out of the life around us. To trust in the future, I believe, is also to trust in each other, that we can once again build bridges of understanding and compassion with those people with whom we disagree, even while we continue to struggle for justice and for truth. And finally, to trust in the future is to trust ourselves. We must trust our own goodness. For the darkness and bleakness that surrounds us is not just in the climate that is outside, but is also the climate that exists within us, within our souls. We are so under attack in so many ways about doubting who we are and what we can bring to this world. Yes, my friends, we are human. Yes, my friends, that means we are all messed up. That's why we have days like today, to set ourselves straight. And that's why days like today are really, in a sense, a little bit what every day should be. However, as messed up as we may be, does not mean that we do not have tremendous reservoirs and wells of goodness within us. And we must reclaim that belief in ourselves and our souls, that we are more than just users and consumers of products and attitudes and memes and fake news, but that we are souls who can be vehicles of compassion and love and understanding and forgiveness for ourselves and for others. There is a Hebrew expression that I heard in Israel for the first time when I was there on a summer ulpan on a kibbutz called Givat Oz in 1987. It was, Yeh beseder, it'll be okay. I noticed Israelis saying this. Well, actually, they said it all the time. But in particular, whenever there was a topic about the future or just anything from the mundane or to the more serious, Yeh beseder, it will be okay. Always, Yeh beseder. Now, as someone who tends towards sometimes the anxious and worrisome side of things, I liked that expression and I loved the attitude behind it. But only up to a point. Because as much as we might sweat too many of the small details of life, something, by the way, that Rebbe Death also can teach us about, honestly, things won't just be okay. The current course of life around us points to things being very much not okay now, nor will they be in the future if they're left unaddressed. My friends, we cannot control much, but what we can might make all the difference in the world around us. And as we look to the future, we need to realize that trusting the future is not just something that will happen. Trust the future can be a personal wish that's just thrown out into the universe, or trust the future can be an invitation for all of us to build trust in the world around us, the people around us, and ultimately and finally in ourselves. May we be worthy of this challenge in the year ahead and thereby help seal ourselves in the book of life. We all say, Amen.
Amen.
And now, my friends, we've come full circle. We began our journey by remembering the past, then honoring the present, and finally trusting the future. And now, as we move towards the end of our service, we are back at the beginning. Yizkur, remembering our past, remembering our loved ones. For life turns as the seasons turn, and we pray that with each season, each turning, we do not merely circle over and over, but spiral upwards towards the heavens.
To everything Turn, turn, turn. There is a season. Turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. As I sit in this room, there's an empty chair across from me. And it keeps reminding me that it's a chair that should be filled by my mother, who would be watching me with pride. But I think about the last words she said to me. She said, "Don't you worry. I'll see you on the other side." So I invite you now to envision that person who should be here. And as the rabbi says, trust the future and know that the words that this poet wrote are true. Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by that old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone, and wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow put upon it. Because life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind? Because I'm out of sight. I am but waiting for you, just for an interval, somewhere very near, just round the corner. All is well. Nothing is hurt. Nothing is lost.
The next song is a Yiddish song, Baruch Ateh. And it's about the relationship between the parent and the child, telling the story of how the parent lights the Sabbath or the holiday candles and is tired and worn and stupid and stooped over. But when the light shines on his face and on his child's face or hers, the parent says, there is still something here. There remains much to love and will not once be long forgotten. Baruch Ateh. Baruch Ateh, singt der Tate, und sind die Licht, und die Strahlen wilde fallen auf dein blass Gesicht. Und a Feier, heilig Teier, in die Augen leicht, und der Mieder mit die Glieder hat sich gegleicht, und es dacht sich, und es trach sich, sie's noch etwas da. Sie's geblieben, was zu lieben, heilig ist die Schau. Alte Kranken, lang vergangen, nein, es kriecht noch ein Ziel. Siegete, Baruch Ateh, und ich bleib dein Kind.
Life will break you. Nobody can protect you from that. And living alone won't either. For solitude will also break you with its yearning. You have to love. You have to feel. It is the reason you are here on earth. You are here to risk your heart. You are here to be swallowed up. And when it happens that you are broken or betrayed or left hurt or death brushes near you, let yourself sit by an apple tree and listen to the apples falling all around you in heaps, wasting their sweetness. Tell yourself you tasted as many as you could.
We honor all of those people who sent in the names of their loved ones in this video. We tried to capture everybody's name. If we did not capture your family's name, your loved one's name, please feel comfortable to add it in
the chat section. Yizkor.
My Father, my teacher, may your soul be remembered. You have left this world, but you are not gone. I will give in your name that your soul be remembered by the deed of my hands in turn. You will be wrapped in the bond of life with Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. You will be there in the Garden of Eden with all that righteous and good and all mine. Amen. Amen. My mother, my treasure, may your soul be remembered. I will live in your name, may your soul be remembered by the deed of my hands in turn. You will be wrapped in the bond of life with Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. You will be there in the Garden of Eden with all that is righteous and good. Then all mine. Amen. At the blowing of the wind, at the opening of the buds, at the blueness of the sky, at the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of the autumn, at the start of the year, and when it all ends, as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us. You will be wrapped in the bond of life with Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. You will be there in the Garden of Eden with all that is righteous and good and all mine. Amen. Amen.
Let us rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Rabbi Bernhard.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Amen.
V'alma divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yamechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam lo me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru.
Amen.
Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Aseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
May my closing remarks be an opening. I often don't feel during services. I'm so busy doing them that I'm not in them. I had tingles, goosebumps. I felt things that I've never felt during a service. I'm grateful to all of you who joined us online. I'm grateful to everybody here at the studio. I'm grateful to all of the artists and my teachers and friends who just make me look good, make me feel great, and help us express some of the deepest emotions that can be felt. Life is beautiful. Thank you for being with us. Life is beautiful, never knowing if you're coming or you're going. Life is poetry to be savored, every flavor. Life is beautiful. Life is beautiful, fleeting. It can break you, leave you bleeding. Life is painful, sometimes lonely. If only life is beautiful. In your darkest Decembers, when your light might be low, remember your roses. Life is beautiful. Life is beautiful, never knowing if you're coming or you're going. Life is poetry to be savored, every flavor. Life is beautiful. Remember your roses. Life is beautiful. Life is beautiful, exquisite, and only a short visit. Let it lift you, take you, give your all. May life be beautiful. Beautiful. Tikia. Tikia. Shvarim. Shvarim Trua. Tikia. Tikia. Shvarim. Trua. 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 Tikia Gedola. Shana Tova. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
We are finishing this now, but in 5 minutes, Stuart is going to have a program based on a video that he created, a film, a short film he created, and a discussion. Stuart, you want to just take a minute to introduce people and explain? You can stay right online right here. You can go outside, you can walk around, you can go get something to eat if you eat. And if you're not healthy, there's no mitzvah in killing yourself, okay? Have something to eat. There's no mitzvah. But Stuart is going to lead this conversation. Stuart, would you like to say something or just surprise him?
No, I'd just like to say, take a couple minutes. I'm going to finish crying and wipe my nose. But I would love to share with you this short film. It's a very short film. It's less than 15 minutes. And it just talks about tradition and family and faith. And if you gather some people you love around you as you watch it, I think it will stir some memories in you. And then I invite anyone here in the studio, in your various rooms, to join in. Just a brief conversation, just a few words about the meaning of the tradition and the legacy of those whose shoulders we stand upon and those who will stand upon our shoulders. So in less than 5 minutes.
Let's say 12:20, okay? And if you know somebody who might not be doing anything right now, feel free to text them or give them a call. Give them this free link. It's for everybody. Thank you, everybody. Shana Tova, and we're going to be off and muted just for a few more minutes. Take care. If you want to play a video in the interim, you can play Lador Vador so that people have not just dead time there.
Not really, because this is a terrible environment.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are His story in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Lador Vador, Nagid God Leva. Lador Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Lador Vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Lador Vador, Nagid God Lecha. Dor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. The Dor vador, these lips will praise your name.
What I think is appropriate, using tradition, but what I think and what I hear from people, oh, that's great.
Didn't I tell you I loved you? Didn't I show you I cared? Didn't you know you mattered? Wasn't it life that we shared? But time keeps ticking. Our lives keep slipping away. Now that this journey is over, somehow it doesn't seem fair. Now there is no one to talk with, no one to walk with and be with. Still everything seems to remind me, as if you're beside me, still there. And time keeps ticking, our lives keep slipping away. Now that this journey is over, somehow it doesn't seem fair. I can't hold the wind, I can't slow the ride, I can't stop the rivers from flowing. I can't hold the tears, I can't slow the tide, I can't stop the seasons from coming and going. I hope that I told you I loved you. Hope that I showed you I cared. I hope that you know you mattered. What a great life we did share. What a great journey we share. Love you guys.
My name is David Kaplan. I'm 42 years old. I've got 2 kids, Sarah and Elliot, and my wife, Karen. I went to Hebrew school. I had a bar mitzvah. I went to Israel at 16. Obviously, I had a Jewish wedding, raised my kids Jewish. But they call me a holiday Jew. That's the only time I go to temple. But I hear that shofar, and immediately I'm a kid again. Kol Nidra, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. A child with so many memories flooding back.
I'm Rachel Sarah Klein, but everyone calls me by my middle name, Sarah. I'm 29, I work in advertising, and the high holy days are torture for me.
I don't really remember what I did for the first 42 Yom Kippurs of my life, but still, there are a few very vivid memories. I'll tell you what I can remember. It's the high holy days. My mother says,
Eddie!
Eddie's my father.
Take David and Charles.
That's my brother.
Downtown. It's Yontif. They need new clothes for Yontif.
So, off we go, my dad, brother, and I, to Los Angeles Street, to the garment district, where they have all the cheap stuff.
Affordable quality.
And I think this guy, his name is Izzy.
Mr. K! Ah, you lost a few pounds. Master K, I think you've grown an inch. 3 suits.
Racks and racks of suits. Where the guy, he pulls the coat back, and it makes you look all slim. And me and my brother, we get these matching suits. And clip-on tie. I love those clip-on ties. In fact, I wish I had one of those clip-on ties today.
Is it just me, or is fasting the worst name in the world? They should call it slowing. I mean, come on. Would it be such a sin to have one bite of food to get me through the day? Yeah. I guess it would.
Okay. So, a few days later, we go to shul. I'm sitting next to my mom. There's like 1,500 people at this place. And I remember it was the Dodgers versus the Minnesota Twins. And I remember because the rabbi announced from the pulpit that Sandy Koufax was going to services instead of playing.
The same faces every year saying the same things. Hag Sameach, whatever that means.
And to tell you the truth, that's where the memory ends that year. I smiled at my dad and fell asleep for the whole rest of the service. The next thing I remember, my mom's waking me up. Easiest fast in the world.
It's the longest day on earth. And the street signs are all part of the conspiracy. I swear this is true. Driving here today, the signs in front of the Golden Arches called to me. You think I'm kidding? I passed where Taco Bell used to be. It's now Bob Cabell. And Wiener Schnitzel isn't selling wieners anymore, just schnitzel.
Oh, here's something else I remember. I finally turned 10, and my mom says,
Eddie, take David and Charles downtown. It's Yontif. They need new clothes for Yontif.
New year, new suit. But now, I don't have the clip-on tie anymore. Because now, I get a big boy tie.
40% silk, made in China.
And shiny new shoes. And my brother and I, we don't have to match anymore. My brother's suit is double-breasted, and mine is single-breasted. I like his better. And we go to shul that year. It's the Orioles versus the Cardinals, 4-1. I smile up at my dad, and the next thing you know, Yom Kippur is over.
How was I supposed to pray when all I can think about is kugel, latkes, and applesauce, and piping hot challah with honey? Heck, I'd even choke down some gefilte fish.
Mind you, with all this sleeping, I didn't know a whole lot about Judaism. But I knew the rabbi must be some kind of a holy man, because how else could he know the baseball scores every year with no TV?
I have memories. My name is Martin. I'm 62 years old. I didn't grow up particularly religious, but I was always proud to be a Jew. But being an engineer, the holidays are a challenge for me. I'm always looking for logic. It makes me a little neurotic. You know, for example, when I hear the gates of heaven are closing, that we're counting down the minutes, imploring God to let us in, you know, Adonai, Adonai, Rachum, V'chanun, I'm terrified. My logical mind immediately thinks, if there's a gate, are there walls? If so, can I sneak around the back and climb over the wall? Or can I slip the guy at the door at 20 like I used to do with the clubs? Is Adonai really gonna leave me out standing outside that awesome gate? Spit out of luck. I mean, what if I stumble before I get in? A dangling shoelace, an inadvertent misstep. What if the metro is late? Couldn't they just give us a remote so we can let ourselves in and close the gate behind us?
I don't remember the services, but in 1970, the Orioles beat the Cincinnati Reds 4-1. In 73, I was 13. The Oakland A's barely beat the Mets 4-3. And I remember my father's smile. I remember that.
Every so often, I'm able to take my mind off food, and a little bit of the service reaches my brain and my heart. Tikkun Olam. What a concept, a world healed and filled with peace. I glance around the synagogue at all the families reciting the same prayers I've heard since I can't even remember, and I think, maybe it's possible. Peace. I sing Hineni for the 1000th time, and it hits me. Here am I. As torturous as this fasting is, and as much as I dread the hours until I can break this fast, here I am. Here I am among my people, among my loved ones. Here we are, together.
Now I'm bar mitzvahed. And I'm expected to fast the whole time. But what do we have to do first? We have to,
Go downtown and get the suits. It's Yantiv.
Only this year, with my luck, you know what's in? Nehru jackets. And big shiny medallions.
Medallions? Oh, gewalt, have I got medallions?
So we get Nehru jackets and big shiny medallions. And I can't even believe they've allowed me to go to shul in a Nehru jacket with a big shiny medallion. But when we get there, what's everyone wearing? Nehru jackets with big shiny medallions. Oakland A's, New York Mets. Score was 4-3. I looked at my dad. We smiled, and I ran off to sit with my friends. After all, at my age, it's not cool to sit with my parents.
As others struggle with the idea of tefillah, tzedakah, tshuva, I struggle with a quandary of my own. What about chewing gum? I mean, I know I can't eat, but is it a sin to chew? I promise not to swallow the gum, and with the way the insides of my mouth taste while fasting, it would probably be a public service to the people praying around me. And then it hits me. What if I chew a corned beef sandwich, and I promise not to swallow it?
I'm in college. My parents send me a ticket to fly home for the holidays, but I've just gotten to school. I have to fly home 2 weeks later for services, and I share with them how illogical this is, and they share with me some logic of their own.
Your father and I are paying for that fancy college. Your father and I paid for that airline ticket. And your father and I will be paying for the new suit. Get your tuchus on the plane.
End of discussion. I fly home. But the last thing in the world I want to do is go downtown with my father and brother. But
the Kaplan men wear suits. We don't live in a fancy house. We don't go to shul as often as we should. We don't spend enough time together as a family. But on Yantif, the Kaplan men do two things. They put on a nice suit and they try hard to be a family.
if it comes time to go to shul, I put my foot down. You made me come home. You made me buy a suit I don't want to wear. You made me visit the Epsteins. You can't make me go to services. My mother cries. My brother smirks. My father shrugs. I stay home. After all, I came home. So I get stoned. And I get the munchies really bad on Yom Kippur. Is that really bad? Yeah, that's really bad. You know what's funny? That's the only year I don't remember what the score was or who was playing.
We pound our chests, confessing our sins. It occurs to me that these aren't my sins. I never did any of these things. If I'm going to miss having my name inscribed in the Book of Life, shouldn't it be because of sins I've actually committed? Seconds are ticking down. The gate is closing. I'm pounding harder and harder, Adonai. If you don't mind me saying, I never robbed anybody. Never practiced violence. I led nobody astray. But I'll confess to them all if it gets me through those gates.
Actually, pounding my chest doesn't bother me. It keeps my mind off counting the hours since I've eaten. And then something powerful happens. Hurts. And once I feel that pain, I begin to feel other things. Remorse for the wrong I've done. Hope for the coming year. Pride to be part of this assembly. And then, hunger.
Oh, this right brain thinking, why can't I turn it off? Why can't I just feel?
I'm 30 years old. I've met Karen. Her brother and I haven't spoken in years, so my mom asks me,
Will you help your father get a suit? At his age, he shouldn't be going downtown alone.
So like the dutiful son I am, I go with my dad. And Dad, he's got some dementia now. He doesn't even remember where we're going, but I do it for Mom.
May I help you?
Izzy, it's the Kaplans. My father, Edward.
Oh, yeah, sure. Mr. K. 3 of my finest suits. Coming right up.
Well, just 2, Izzy. My brother's not here.
What? Not here? Things change, huh?
I realize then I'm doing this for my mom and for me. The day of Yom Kippur, I go pick up my parents now, and I bring them to shul. And this year, the A's beat the Reds again. I hate the A's. And judging from the Passion of his Torah portion, I suspect Rabbi loves the Reds too. I smile at my dad. He's sleeping on my shoulder.
Rabbi explains to us that our confession is both personal and as a people. I'm struck by the concept of being able to help even those who can't plead for their own lives to pass through the gates for another year. My hunger fades. I'm empowered.
So, here we are, 2007. A few days ago, my wife, Karen, reminds me.
David! It's time to take Elliot for a new suit.
My son, Elliot, is complaining the whole time, Dad, I'm not going. I don't want to wear a suit. I say, Elliot, you're going.
It's Yom Tif.
No, we no longer go downtown. Izzy's long gone. Hopefully somewhere telling my father he looks better than ever. And I know Mom is right there beside him.
Another year of chest pounding, and for some reason, I'm still here. I confess to it all, every last sin. And this time I throw in a few of my own.
I didn't care enough about the poor, the widowed, the orphaned, or the stranger.
I missed too many of my son's baseball games.
So many times I didn't tell the truth.
Other than High Holy Days, I haven't been to shul since the turn of the millennium.
I didn't love my neighbor. In fact, I hated my neighbor and his stupid dog.
As if for the first time I pound my chest.
I confess. I plead.
I confess gladly, proudly.
I take my son to buy a new suit.
I rejoin my community.
He complains all the way.
I celebrate another chance to be the man I ought to be.
I look my son in the eye and I tell him.
The Kaplan men.
The Kaplan men wear suits. We're not perfect. We don't always go to shul. Sometimes we miss baseball games. And I know how much that hurts. And I'm sorry. I am far from perfect. But Yom Tif, we wear new suits. And we do our best
to be whole,
to be truthful,
to be a family.
I'm hungry for wisdom, for community.
We sit together, a family. Rabbi winks and gives Elliot me thumbs up. Dodgers are winning. My son looks up at me. And because my eyes are filled with tears, I can't see it. But I know he's smiling. He places his head on my shoulder and dreams of days to come. It's Yontif.
Thank you for watching, everyone, those who did. So a little history on this story. It was brought to me by my best friend of 40 years, and it was just his remembrances of Yontifs of years past, and the big memory for him was always that they had to go downtown and get a new suit every year. And his revelation, of course, was that at the time he hated every minute of it. Hated the drive downtown and hated the getting fitted for a new suit. But now, years later, it's a memory that he holds on to very dearly, as are many parts, I think, of the services that sometimes feel like, oh, it's a long service and there's fasting and there's this, and yet the day will come where those memories have real meaning. Rabbi, I thank you for watching. Any thoughts?
Well, I thought it was great. I thought it was very, very, very powerful and very effective. And I really appreciated the three stories because they were very different takes on how the holiday became meaningful. And I think that's a really important part about holidays that, they don't teach us about it so much in rabbinical school, which is it's not the prayers, it's the people. It's like the service, the prayers, whether the service is long or short, I think that's almost just more for a conversation and something to talk about over lunch. It's different parts, different people will touch us, and different memories bring out all of these feelings and then connections that we have to our tradition and to one another. I thought it was just a great little exploration about different ways in which that unfolds.
Thank you. Yeah, even, Izzy, the suit salesman, we all have an Izzy in our lives. And at the time, they're characters, and we think, what a strange person. And then years later, we gain an appreciation for the color, the memories that those people brought to our lives. With my friend, it was the Dodgers, what was the score of the game? Because it's
Right.
always that time of year. And, for me, I no longer can measure time. People say, so what year did you do whatever? And I don't know. I only know it by what my children were doing at that time. Oh, yeah, Nikki was in the first grade, so it had to be this year, etc. I can't tell time other than by those milestones. And I think my hope in creating this film was that people who watch it will realize the milestones they've built in their lives from Yontif services.
Where did the other people come from? You said the story began with your friend, but where did the stories of the others, how did those get integrated in?
Yeah, it's interesting. He brought that story to me and said, I know this isn't enough. Can you rewrite it? And just as you said, I said to him, I think it needs more than one perspective, because not everyone cares about the Dodger scores every year, and not everyone went to get a new suit. But let's look at the journeys of 3 different people, of different ages and different backgrounds, etc. But the one thing they share in common is that they've had this experience every year. And for one, it's a hungry experience. And for another, it's a, why am I doing this? I didn't do any of these sins. We pound our chests and why am I confessing to things that I didn't do? And the goal was to create 3 characters to whom each of them, for whom each of them meaning is found in a different part of the service. My hope here at the Pico Union is that some people are encouraged and inspired and moved by your words and your wisdom and the scripture that you bring. But another person maybe is moved by the music that Craig brings to the thing. Maybe someone's moved by the diversity of the group that we have. Maybe someone is just moved by a story that we tell. Maybe this film will be something that someone will say, oh, I remember the year that I made the connection between the nagging my mother did to get us ready for services and how much that means to me and how I now pass that on to the future. So I created those characters from other friends and their recollections. They said, well, I didn't get new suits, but I remember the fasting, and I didn't get new suits, but I remember the pounding of the chest and not really knowing what it meant. So I made those characters a sort of microcosm of a number of people that I spoke with.
Yeah, because I resemble in some ways all of them.
That's interesting. Yeah. What's your early, young high holiday memory?
I think for me, my earliest high holiday memory was when my family was living in London at the time, and I must have been about 9 or 10 years old. We would attend Westminster Reformed Synagogue, I think it was called, and it was. I mean, I know I'm talking about synagogue, but it was high church. This is England in the 70s, man. People were dressed to the nines, and the people officiating, the big tall hats, everything. And I just remember sitting next to my father at one point in time in these cushioned chairs, which were made of that wood, the little beaded wood with the little notches in the back that made it even more uncomfortable than it already was.
Right.
And I just remember holding the prayer book with my father, and the rabbi said, we'll now turn to this page. And my father turned to me and he goes, good jump. And that's my earliest, and in some ways my fondest memory of high holiday services is that good jump in pages. And so I would actually say that sometimes when I was officiating and we'd jump 10, 20 pages, I said, good jump. We continue on page 122. That's really my earliest memory. Yeah. I love it.
Would that lovely person sitting next to you be willing to share anything?
Sure. I'm Lori. I'm his wife. I love that video. The guy with the suit, I think, is my age. I mean, I think when you went through the dates, it was really corresponding to my own life. And I grew up in the Valley, and for sure there was a routine about buying a new fall outfit. And it was always wool or flannel or something that is so not appropriate for the Valley in August or September and October. And as an adult, one of the things I instead of what he did was like I could finally choose clothes that are weather appropriate for the holidays. But what I loved, what I was thinking about watching the video is where was I in 1984? Was I in a college Hillel? Where was I in 1990 when he was in the seminary? And just picturing myself at the different stages of my life and my children's different stages. And here we are now, empty nesters, And I just thought it was beautifully produced and beautifully done, and definitely touched me. So thank you.
And that's so beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that part of it, because that's the point, that sometimes time is not measured by the clock. It's measured by experiences and the people we're with. I want to say, at this end, I wish we had a computer in front of us so that we could see chats, so that we could interact with people at home who are watching. We don't have that ability right now.
Stuart, we might.
Oh.
Marcus, do you have access to the chat room online, either on YouTube or on Facebook?
And while he looks for that, Craig, I'm going to ask you the same question. You've now got a number of Yom Kippurs and Rosh Hashanahs under your belt. Is there an early memory that sticks with you as something to hold on to?
Yeah, as I shared last night, probably my most significant memory of Yom Kippur was 1973. I was at Sinai Temple, and we heard that there was a war. And I remember Rabbi Hillel Silverman asking for money, like, take out your checkbooks right now and write checks. And it was the first time that I was in the main sanctuary that probably filled 2,500 seats, and there was probably 3,500 people in there. It was just everybody inside. I remember it was Cantor Joseph Gold's first Yom Kippur, and it was Nila, and I remember still, Adonai, Adonai, and it just chills, and it was like my first memory of Rosh Hashanah. And I also want to say that that friend who you're talking about right now, your friend of 40 years, I was at that service with him. We grew up together at Sinai Temple. I knew his father. His father would drive me to Hebrew school. I remember in 1968, his dad was a dentist, and I remember in 1968 when he picked us up, and he was very sad, he was very quiet. Martin Luther King had just been shot. And it was either on a Monday or a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Thursday, because I'm not sure if we went to Hebrew school on Monday and Wednesday and Sunday, or Tuesday and Thursday and Sunday. But my memories go way back with that family, and go way back with Sinai Temple. And frankly, I think it is in the remembering and being sameach bechalko, and being happy with that lot, that which we choose to remember. And we choose what memories we hold. And I'm not good at it. I tend to, if there are 50 wonderful comments about services, the only one I focus on, the only one that I remember, is that one person who said, do you have any idea how frustrating it is, Craig, that there's no audio?
Right.
It's like, and I'm obsessing about, that's what I remember, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I choose to remember. But it is in remembering and holding those memories that we can elevate the moment, and then I think pass that on to the next generation. Do you want them to be bitter like me? Or do you want your kids to remember, yeah, but all those other amazing comments?
Yeah, I'm seeing some comments on the screen. When it was larger, I could see them, but I did see one comment from Brenda saying it brought back memories of being with her parents and with her sisters. Deborah saying that Deborah relates to the comment that time is measured by experiences. Here's a great one. Laura says that it brought back memories of having to wear pantyhose and a slip and sit next to my mom. It was so uncomfortable. But now Laura is saying I'd do anything to be there again with her.
David Oderberg, he's a longtime Pico Union supporter and photographer. He used to do all of our photography. Hi, David and Ethel.
Yeah. And there were some earlier comments that that were too far away for me to see, because we want this to be a conversation. with you. Thanks, David, for the kind words about. Thanks to the team for the wonderful service, and I know that's the way I feel about it. It really felt like a team effort today. All of you who are viewing included. It wouldn't be the same if we didn't know you were there on the other side of it. I see a question saying, please tell us how to access the short film. I haven't figured that out yet. I made this film, how long ago, Craig? 10 days?
Pretty much. I'll tell you how you could access it. We, meaning the Pico Union Project, is going to underwrite this for Stuart, and we will get it out there in any way that needs to get out there. That'll be up to Stuart how much he wants it out there, but it deserves to be seen by many, many people. And what would you give for the baseball season to be shorter again? I mean, it's like Christmas and they're still playing in the playoffs.
Right.
It's like, oh God.
I love Francis's comment saying, I remember sitting next to my dad braiding the fringe on his talit.
Yeah, my kids used to do that with me too.
Yeah, that's powerful. And you know, one of my favorite moments in the film, if I'm allowed as the filmmaker to have a favorite moment, is really that moment where the son looks to smile at his dad, and his dad is now sleeping on his shoulder.
Yeah.
How that, well, you've written it in song, how the world is a circle, and how that circle becomes so meaningful to us. To that image of looking over and seeing your dad on whose shoulder you've slept for so long.
Try that. Oh, Stuart, I am
part of the circle. I'm out of tune, but I will get tuned.
Keep on talking, Stuart.
Yeah, I also, I do want to mention the wonderful actors who I gave them the script on a Tuesday and we shot on Saturday. Eric Lieberman, who played the lead role, an incredible actor. Tricia Niken Mercer played the young woman role. Who also was in charge of our big fundraiser this past year. She's an incredible artist and business person. Michael Kaminer, my friend of 40 years, played the other role, and he hadn't acted for many, 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 many years, so it was an opportunity, because we met acting together, so it was an opportunity to work together as creative artists again, and that was wonderful. Naomi Ackerman played the mother, and Naomi is also obviously very active in the Jewish community and in the charitable community and working with incarcerated youth. And a dear friend, Christopher Neiman, who's a wonderful actor. You've seen him in 100 films and TV shows. He played the role of Izzy and graced me with just doing it for me. As you saw, some of the songs were Craig songs, and some of the songs were me songs, and some of the songs were just pieces of music that I found in public domain that I thought were really right for it. Yeah, share a little of The World is a Circle with us, Craig.
World is a circle, never-ending circle, never-ending circle going round and round. I see the sun go up, the moon go down, and the world goes around and around and around. Oh, I am a part of the circle, a part of the circle going round and round. I am a part of the circle, part of the circle going round and round. At 1 o'clock, we're over, except at 2 o'clock, the circle continues with Jeremy Kagan, the producer of the film The Chosen, Chicago 8. If we can put up that slide right now. If anybody has ideas how to help Stuart get this film out there, email the Pico Union, info@picounionproject.org.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, we have a tradition in my home that there are certain films that we always watch every day of the year. It's a family tradition. We gather. I've done it since my kids were, 2 and 3 years old, and now they're in their 30s, and they still say, okay, so what day are we watching It's a Wonderful Life? What day are we watching Father of the Bride? And it's interesting, Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride 2 have gained more and more meaning for me as the years have gone by and as I've participated in the weddings of my children. So I'm hoping that Yontif might become a part of your tradition in a way that it reminds you of the importance of family and the importance of tradition and the importance of legacy, and reminds you that even though Mom and Dad might seem strange and a pain in the neck right now, and even though services might seem like an inconvenience, and even though that trip downtown to get a new suit might seem foolish, and the pounding of my chest, I'm not sure what it means, hopefully this film will help be a reminder that one day, each of those things will have great meaning and great value, and you'll wish again for the day you could pull on those pantyhose and braid that tallit like you used to.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. In the chat room, and thank you, Rabbi and Laurie, for being with us and staying with us. In the chat room, if anybody online could just add this, I'm going to give the link again. It's for this 2 o'clock program with Jeremy. It's usc.us/J/9/400-311-3320.
Yeah, if someone can type that into the chat, it will live there, and others can find it.
Can I say it one more time?
Please do.
Is anybody going to do this? Somebody just start typing anything. Just like make sure it's a decent. Hey, Jeremy, I think you might be online. Can you type it in?
Unless he flashes back to us.
Okay, well, I'm going to send out, oh, there it is. If you could make that big and just hold it on the screen for the next 5 minutes. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone else.